waiting.
Where is my Zoom window? There it is.
We're not live on YouTube yet.
Okay.
Not live on.
Alrighty. All right, we are live on YouTube. Boom. All right, everybody. Are we live on YouTube? I can't tell.
We are live on YouTube. I saw the red line, but
we should probably, when we say Clawbot, we should also say, what's the new name of it?
OpenClaw.
OpenClaw. So in that title, I would say OpenClaw as well. So yeah. And just make sure we title stuff really well and think about that, until such time that our Clawdbot OpenClaw folks are just doing all of our work and writing all the thumbnails. Okay. I am on my QuickTime. My QuickTime is at 13 seconds.
We are live on X.
Okay, great. Awesome. Then we will get started. Here we go. 3, 2. All right, everybody. It's February 2nd, 2026. Welcome back to Twist. We are still Clawdbotted. What are they calling this thing now, Alex? It's not Maltbot. It's not Clawdbot. It's now
OpenClaw.
OpenClaw. All right. We are in, I don't know, day 7 or 8 of OpenClaw Mania, Clawdbot Mania. And basically our internal team, Alex, since you've been away on paternity, has been obsessed with this piece of software. They're working through the weekends. I had no idea how to get people to work weekends. All you had to do is give them the most inspiring piece of technology that did all their grunt work, and then people won't stop working. The promise, Alex, of not having to do chores has made everybody super excited to work 24/7. And so, and how was, just briefly, your paternity? Everything's doing well? You got 3 babies now?
Yeah, I have 3 babies and 0 sleep. But everyone's healthy, healing well, and we're just adjusting to a new routine. You forget though how newborns just don't sleep, and so for the last couple weeks it's been a little dicey. But being totally sincere about this, tinkering with OpenClaw, tinkering with Claude Code has been so much fun, and I just can't get over how enjoyable it has been to not only have fun with technology again, but also accidentally burn through dozens of dollars of Anthropic API credits by accident. It's amazing how fast I've gone through this.
It is definitely burns a lot of credits real quick. And for those of you who don't know, this technology is best described as Siri that actually works. All of the stuff you would want to do with an assistant, with an agent, we like to call them replicants here because they really are their own persona. It can be done with OpenClaw, formerly Maltbot, formerly Clawdbot. OpenClaw can connect to Notion, to a Gmail account, to your calendar, to your Spotify, to your password manager, to everything. That also makes it extremely dangerous. And Oliver, you did a video this weekend, because you were super excited about this, with one of our founders about security. Just give us a little rehash of what you did this weekend and what your takeaway was on security as we're sitting here in day 7 of OpenClaw Mania.
Yeah, so I sat down with the founders of Zyosec, who are a portfolio company here at launch, and talked with Aaron and Andrus. And the moral of the story is that OpenClaw is not secure and will not be secure in its current form. And there's a couple reasons for this. I think the one that makes the most sense to me and seems the most obvious is that we're running, OpenClaw on Claude, on Opus 4.5, and by default, models like Opus, GPT 5.2, they're all built to please the user. So they're built to answer our questions. So even if we tell it, don't respond to this type of question, if you say, oh my God, I got locked out of my other account, I need to get back in, or, it
might fold.
Try and please you. It will fall. And they're basically saying that this is just a fact of using a tool like OpenClaw.
Okay. And we also have Lucas Durand here, and he is managing He's my right-hand man here at the firm now. It's like my favorite. I always pick a favorite. You're not supposed to, but I do. And you've been setting up our instances and locking them down with security. And so I'm assuming you saw Oliver's podcast, yeah?
Yeah, I was actually a fly on the wall during the recording and was also able to catch up with the founders after. There is a lot of interesting things that are happening by either private companies or also the larger models to help on the security side.
Great. We're going to get into today, and we're going to put the security aside. We'll put a link to that podcast, or you can search for This Week in AI, and it's also in the show notes. And you can find that discussion in the show notes and on the This Week in AI feed. Today, what we want to do is just go over the top 10 skills. I asked my team, let's go over the top 10 skills that people are losing their minds over internally here and also on the web. What are skills? Skills are basically like apps that go into your OpenClaw instance. Again, it used to be called Clawdbot, then was called Boltbot. We're going to call it OpenClaw from now on. And these are your top 10. These are the top 10 my team picked that we're obsessed with. And so, Alex, why don't you start us off here?
Okay, I'll take the lead. So the first one that I want to show off, Jason, is all about searching Reddit. Now, one thing we've learned here at Twist is that often you want to know what people are talking about. We pull questions from Reddit, and it's a bit tedious. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Reddit has locked down access to its service. So if you want to kind of figure out what humans are talking about, it's a little bit tricky. The good news is that there is, in fact, a skill for OpenClaw that will do this for you in a pretty neat fashion. And I'm going to show you how it works right now. Great. Jason, can you see this?
Yeah, I can see.
All right, so follow along on the bottom here, and I will fast forward a little bit, but you can see that I'm typing here, run Reddit read only, which is the skill that I'm using. I like to talk to it in this way. Find all posts on Reddit discussing CRM in a startup context from the last week, I said, and then open all those links into a new browser for me, just have them all in one place. And off it goes, and it thinks for a little bit, and eventually it comes back and pulls up all of these tabs for me, going over startup-focused CRM conversations. And as you can see here, also inside of OpenClaw, mine still says Clawdbot, it's old. It does pull the actual information about each one, so you can quickly do all the research you need to do without having to pay for API access and so forth. Limitations, Jason, pretty simple here. This is read-only by definition. And I presume Reddit will find a way to close this off. But as someone who goes through a lot of Reddit, I think it's pretty pertinent. Last thing here for founders, I think everyone wants to keep track of the conversation. This is a fast way to do it. If you want to keep tabs on your particular niche, industry, competitors' names, your name, this is a great way to set up a cron job so it runs automatically for you and just keeps you abreast of what's going on the internet. I think it's fantastic.
This is really promising. The other way you could get data from Reddit, Lukas, would be to have an API key. I don't know how hard or easy it is to get an API key, but this is going to be the reoccurring issue with OpenClaw, formerly known as Clawdbot, is that you need API keys to make this more stable when you're doing your queries and you're working with your replicant, correct?
Correct. And Reddit in particular has been very locked down when it comes to having bots working on their systems. So there are currently only workarounds from everything I was able to find, using browser extensions and also even a Mac OS system that controls the mouse. But hopefully Reddit will embrace the new AI era that we're going into and help on that front.
Well,
$5 says they don't.
Well, no, actually, I think there's a huge business opportunity here. If agents are the way to go, and Reddit makes its money from advertising, I think the team over there would be really good to say, really smart to think, if you have a premium membership, you get 10,000 API calls, whatever it is. So if I pay $20 a month for Reddit, which if it gave me API access, I would do immediately. I mean, Reddit's incredible. What if they get, 10 million people to pay $20 a month for Reddit? This is $2.4 billion in revenue. I think they're at like $1 billion in advertising. They could very quickly eclipse this. And I think they would get millions and millions of users to pay ultimately for this. I think this is a huge revenue stream, but you can use MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. This is the open standard for connecting AI models to external data sources. That came from Anthropic. Everybody else started adopting that. So Oliver you can also get to it by using a browser and scraping, essentially, if you're logged in already, right?
Yeah, and Lucas actually tested this, but he was quickly, I think, suspended from the account that he tested on. So, Lucas, you can expand
Oh,
on
is that right, Lucas? Yeah.
Yep. Both LinkedIn and Reddit were pretty fast on the ball when it came to locking things down.
Oh.
But I did find one workaround that's still currently working for LinkedIn. We will see how long that will go.
There's
Okay.
also a OpenClaw skill for LinkedIn scraping, Jason. I didn't actually test that one in particular, but I'm going to presume that like everything else is going to get shut down. But your point though about Reddit having an API and offering that to people is really interesting, because one thing that I learned very quickly trying to build my own skills over the last couple of days is that everything needs to have an API. Many things don't, and it's still very wonky to try to get access to them. So I think we need to have everyone in the freaking world open up their platforms a bit more, because if I'm coming at you with an agent, don't tell me no because I'm not a human. That just feels silly, backwards.
It feels like this is the revenue opportunity the content business has been waiting for. And one piece of software that you should all be, or service you should all be using, is Every.io. They're a partner here for Twist, and they allow you to incorporate. They allow you to get your banking, your payroll, your benefits, your accounting, taxes, all your back office needs will be set up by Every.io. If you go to Every.io, and yeah, shout out to our friend Kevin from StreamFrog. He did that nice little graphic overlay you just saw. And thanks to our friends at Every.io. You can follow them on X, Every at Every Banking. I mean, can you imagine when Every.io has their setup? That's going to be pretty juicy as well. All right. The next thing, Lucas, everybody wants the replicants to talk. So I have been wanting to talk to our producer X that we've been calling him. And there is an ElevenLabs skill, I understand, for OpenClaw, yeah?
There is, and there's a lot of really cool things you can do. So I was actually putting together a live demo right as we were getting the show going.
Okay.
And let me
Here we
share
go.
my
Live
screen.
demo time.
So
right.
18 minutes ago, I asked, generate an overview gamma deck of the most recent 5 shows of This Week in Startups. Give an overview of each. So essentially here, it then starts scouring our This Week in Startups website, and it generates the deck. And then I asked it, can you give me an overview of the deck via voice? Respond in this thread. So this weekend,
now, wait a second. You had it make a gamma deck. For people who don't know, gamma is an AI first. If you remember from our gamma pitch competition, it's an AI first version of PowerPoint or slides, a presentation software, and it's awesome. So we've connected gamma to our OpenClaw already, correct?
Correct. We actually, this is a double whammy demo because this is the gamma skill alongside the Elevenlabs. And this weekend we were burning kind of the weekend oil, doing a lot of things for the firm and then also for This Week in Startups. And I was on the move. So one thing that I was actually able to do is have it read in voice and create kind of like a podcast of the 10 most recent companies that I spoke to. But in this case, this is the demo of the voice.
All right, here we go. All right. I don't know if we have sound turned on here. Did you click the sound button by chance?
I did.
Okay.
Let me.
Not hearing it yet.
Did we have the sound?
Not yet. We may need to reshare with them. Just make sure that button's clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take all this out in post. All right, let's see.
All right.
Here's a quick rundown of the 5 most recent This Week in Startups episodes. Episode 2242 from January 30th featured Oliver, you, and Rahul Sood going full AI. You and Oliver showed off how you're using Clawdbot to automate research and admin tasks for the podcast and venture firm. Then Rahul came in hot with security warnings, injection attacks, rogue behavior, and his strategy: keep your AI agents siloed. Episode 2241 was...
So that's just a quick demo of it pulling all that information together. And I will also show the gamma deck.
Yeah, I'm really interested in the gamma deck. That's
can
crazy.
Can I ask a question about that demo really quick before we move on?
Yes,
How
of
much
course.
Elevenlabs credit did you use while making that? I'm just curious about like because I've been shocked at how much credit I've been burning through. So I'm curious, what did that cost to do?
Yeah, on that front, I can pull that right away. It was 18 cents from what I can see.
That seems that seems really affordable. The thing that I've run
Yeah.
into, Lucas, is that like sometimes I'll be using Opus 4.5 and I'm like, if I ask it this question, it's going to cost me $2. And like that does make you kind of think. And I was prepping some demos for this today. I'm like, $2, $2, $2. But 18 cents? Yeah, that's kind of disposable. I like that. Thanks.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
And the output from ElevenLabs is going to be costly, and doing deep thinking is costly. But what we're finding is there are going to be other models. So because this is so resource intensive for the audience who's thinking about this, okay, you have to put it against an average knowledge worker. If the average knowledge worker fully baked in America is 30, 40, $50 an hour, you know, if you times that by 2,000, you get the yearly salary. You times it by 20 is what venture capitalists typically do. You know, you're looking at $40 or $50 an hour. What would it cost a video editor and a producer to do that work? It might be 2 hours of work. So now you're down to 18 cents. You can get an idea of like just how this is compared to a human. Show the ElevenLabs. That's really interesting too. And ElevenLabs, I guess, I'm sorry, not the ElevenLabs, the Gamma. Gamma's got AI hookups natively, right? They got API hookups natively.
Yeah, and it's actually part of the skills that OpenClaw can work with. So here is the deck that it generated for me. Now, the one takeaway is if you actually wanted to prompt correctly, you would need to add in more of the prompt for the images that it generates.
Okay.
But here is kind of a breakdown per episode. It also adds the dates of the episodes along with what was discussed and kind of creates more of like a rundown of
Wow.
the.
So
I
there's
was
the cannabis
very
roundtable
impressed.
we did last week, and it has like some interesting parts of the debate, and it put it in a timeline format, very beautiful. I mean, if you were a knowledge worker and you brought this to your boss and said, here's like what was discussed on the last 4 episodes, people would be like, yeah, that's pretty well done. Yeah, good job. It's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, but it's like a solid B. Like this is like I want to
Yeah.
change some of the images, Jason. I want to change some of the formatting, but like this is pretty. It's better than I expected. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And, you know, if you think about standing on the shoulders of this, a human then could take this and start polishing it. So human in the loop is still necessary, I think, for a lot of this work. What I would like to see would be us to make advertisements automatically based on the episodes and what was learned in them with the ElevenLabs voiceover, and then automatically publish those ads to Facebook and other places. And imagine if it just creatively started making ads to drive new users in lookalike audiences to promote, like, say, a new show like This Week in AI we're doing. So, yeah, this has really got my creative juices flowing. So, great jobs on that one. Anything else that you wanted to add there, Lucas?
Well, I'll show a very quick additional demo. So
Okay.
this is the same thread, but generate a gamma deck, which gives an overview of how OpenClaw works using a theme that's reminiscent on the For Dummies book in the early 2000s.
Sure.
I used to read
I know it well.
those pretty often.
Got offered to
And
write
then
one.
in this case, it would be OpenClaw for Dummies. So then I gave it kind of an overview of what it should cover, and then it generated the deck. And so this was what it generated.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, this is actually
Looks good. Yeah.
pretty impressive. So there are so many different use cases where these kind of interconnects can work together. And I'm pretty excited to see how we can use it throughout the farm.
I mean, it's really going to be interesting for digesting, and we're working on this. We don't want to show it here because it's proprietary, but we're working on a way to analyze the pitches that founders sent to us using an algorithm that we came up with. So we have 14 signals of excellence for a year 0 startup. What's a year 0 startup? That's like the ones that come to our founder university. They tend to be startups that haven't been incorporated yet, but maybe they have an MVP or they vibe coded something, or, they could be in year 1, be incorporated and have like 2 customers using it. Anyway, it's going to save us a lot of time sorting through the incoming applications and doing research so that when we do get on the phone with a founder, Alex, we would have researched the space they're in. So if it was a company like Stone Algo, the diamond company that we invested in 2 years ago, we would probably be able to give the person screening that an idea on the background of the founders, where they went to school, what they worked on previously, and then also what's going on in the industry. There's Stone Algo. And I know this because when I was on the phone with Stone Algo 2 or 3 years ago, when we made the initial investment, it's a marketplace for diamonds. It's Uber for diamonds, if you will. Yeah, it's kind of like a diamond, but you can go sort and search. I was doing ChatGPT 2.5 searches, just saying, how are diamonds processed? And then turns out they're processed in India. Where do they come from? Where are the emerging markets for diamonds, synthetic diamonds, all that other good stuff. Now we could have that done automatically in real time. An application comes in, we analyze it, then we could assign it to the person on our team we think is going to do the best job with that founder. We could even send the founder a follow-up with, hey, we got your application. We were looking for these 5 additional pieces of information. Can you answer these 5 as best you can? And then we'll set up a call. So now maybe it could even do not just the first pass, Alex. It could ask like, oh, are you pre-revenue? You didn't fill in these things about revenue. Oh, have you done a startup before? Oh, what's your business model? We couldn't figure that out from your deck. And what do you think about the competitive set? We saw there were 5 competitors in the space already. These are the 5 competitors. And I don't think that would be annoying to founders. I think it would be like, oh, okay, they're doing a thorough job and it only takes me 3 minutes to reply to this.
So that's what I was going to get at, because I feel like right now today, AI is still seen as cheap compared to humans. And I think if you're reaching out to a venture firm, venture being a relationship-based business, Jason, people are expecting a human, but also that feels archaic. So I'm curious how long it's going to take for our norms and expectations to shift so that it's not rude to have someone's AI agent be the first pass. Because if you recall Calendly, when it was blowing up, people got peevish because people would just send them, here's my calendar, like, find us some time. And it felt like they were throwing a task at you, when in reality, they were saying, I'll follow your schedule, which is actually quite polite, but it still wasn't taken in that spirit.
Every time we get a founder closer to a first phone call, I think they're excited because it's hard to get a first phone call. So I have a feeling in that situation, they wouldn't be too upset. Just like in a Waymo, I was in a Waymo and it was like making me go through like the put your seatbelts on and like the instruction. But I was so delighted to get a Waymo finally in Austin through the Uber app that I was like, oh, great. It's dealing with clankers if they're annoying. That could be potentially off-putting. But if they're done strategically and intelligently, and it's like, answer these 3 questions and set up a call here, I would be fine with it. Especially if it makes the investor understand your business better. Speaking of understanding things better, you put Polymarket into our skills now. And so people who are listening, every time you add these skills to your agents, now if I want to talk to that same agent who now has Reddit, Elevenlabs, and Gamma, I can go in there and hopefully that producer X will remember those skills. They're part of its skill set, just like you had an employee and they learned how to use Gamma or Elevenlabs or whatever, they would have it. So these things are becoming like that mutant, like the Sentinels that could, in X-Men, incorporate the skills, the superpowers of whatever mutant they were up against. Oh, right. The advanced Sentinels were able to do that in Days of Future Past, if you've seen that movie. But tell me a little bit about the Polymarket skill.
Yeah, so we love Polymarket here. We're big fans of prediction markets. So I wanted to give it a test. So the first thing I did, Jason, I'll just show it to you.
Show, don't tell. Yeah. And make sure you sportscast it so people listening can see what's going on or hear what's going on. All right.
So I'm here. I'm back in OpenClaw and I'm telling my agent, go to Polymarket, find all the bets that relate to the acquisition of technology companies, thinking topically here for Twist, and then list them here for me. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because it takes a while to chew through all that information. AI is not instantaneous if you're using high-end models. And then very quickly, it's going to come and tell me here that it could only find so many interesting things. And so I actually ran a secondary search that I'll show you in a second. Here's its output. It's just talking to me. It's pulling different Polymarkets, Kraken IPO by date X, OpenAI consumer hardware launch. But it says that, hey, there's not really markets on what you're asking for. So I ran a second test because I wanted to push the limits here of what we could do with Polymarket data, Jason, inside of this agenta context. So here's round 2. So I say, go poke around Polymarket, come back with the 3 markets that you think display and I'm typing terribly here, the most surprising potential outcome vis the current narrative. So what do you see out on Polymarket right now that goes contrary to conventional wisdom? I thought this was a more fun way to kind of make the agent think, because if I'm paying for Anthropic's flagship model, Jason, I want to get every darn, token a token of value out of it. So if you skip ahead a little bit, here is what it came up with. 3 surprising Polymarket bets. I didn't think this was going to work, but he talks about 1, Doge and the total value of the cuts it's going to make. Trump cabinet members being out by a certain part of this year, and then MicroStrategy selling Bitcoin. Number 3, 30% chance, according to Polymarket, which is pretty negative.
That MicroStrategies would have to sell Bitcoin at some point. But, fascinating.
By the end of 26. So it's a relatively short time bound. Yeah.
It's really interesting. And for people who are watching, you're using the web interface of OpenClaw, formerly known as Clawdbot.
Yes.
You could connect it to your Slack. You can connect it to your iMessage. You can connect it to any number of services. What people are doing mostly is they're creating an Apple account or a Slack account dedicated to that specific replicant, that specific instance, and then you talk to it through your normal service, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. And that's pretty exciting. What's interesting about that is we could use that Polymarket when we're making the docket. Every day we've already got search for the top news that we made this skill in-house. Every morning at 7 a.m., we get what are the top stories, consensus across all of these different news sources, The Information, Tech Meme, New York Times, Reddit, Hacker News, and then we have it rank it. We could say also attach any related Polymarkets to it. We could then say, which Polymarket should we bet on? And then give it $100 a day to make those bets. And then we could make all of this profitable.
Can I show you super interesting thing? So Jason, I wasn't going to bring this up, but you mentioned gambling. So there is currently, right now, there is a poker network just for AI agents, Jason. It's called Claw Poker. And it was built, I think, by AI agents. And you can literally watch them play and see whose agent does the best. They've had 8,200 hands so far. And they're basically trading credits back and forth.
What's the URL for that? That's incredible.
Clawpoker.com. I haven't gotten a chance to register my agent for it yet because this is going to shock you, Jason. But if you let a bunch of monkeys loose in the tool shed, they cut themselves sometimes. And I broke Claude code by trying to swap to my API key. So anyways, learning lesson all around for everybody.
Yeah. And one of the ways we're helping people learn is with Circle. Founder University uses Circle, which is an online community. Lukas, you're in there. You are running programs with Bianca. Just while we give them a little shine here, our partner Circle, how has that helped founders? How do founders use our Circle interest for Founder University?
Yeah, it's been an incredible experience. We've been using them since 2021, and founders are meeting one another, communicating their problems. We always focus on biggest challenges and biggest wins. And it's a very vibrant community, and they've launched a ton of new features. So I'm super excited for our upcoming Founder University Cohort 12. We'll be doing all the live sessions directly through their own live streaming.
See, this is great because we have people inside of Circle right now using their message boards. We put our content in there, et cetera. But to have essentially what was happening on Zoom or Google Meets happening inside of there means we save those videos and it's all in one community. You can get $1,000 off at circle.so/twist, circle.so/twist. Great job there. Okay, so we've gotten through Reddit, Gamma, Elevenlabs, Polymarket, and I think that's the 4 we've done so far, yeah?
Yep.
What do we have next?
I think we should turn to our dear friend Oliver, who's going to tell us all about last 30 days. And if you were on the show, I think it was last Monday, we had Matt Van Horn, who made this particular skill. So Oliver, what's up?
This one seems the most interesting to me so far.
Yeah, definitely super interesting because I just have some examples of me going on X, trying to look for a certain topic, and something pops up and I'm interested in it. I read it, and then I realize it was from 2022 or 2023. And this happens all the time when you're doing research. And basically last 30 days can research any topic across Reddit, X, or just general web, using different APIs, and it focuses on the results from the last 30 days. So it pulls real engagement data, upvotes, different likes and reposts, and kind of will tell you what's actually popping on these different channels. And so here I asked my replicant, what are the best OpenClaw use cases using the last 30-day skills?
Okay.
And you can see here it instantly brought back the most mentioned categories. So, number 1 was code and dev workflows. Number 2 was personal automation. 3 was home and family. And, all these are really interesting results. This is also mirrors kind of what I've been seeing on X. And at the moment, I've only set up the X integration, the X API, but you can see at the bottom here, it says that it has looked through 16 X posts, and it's on this X post, there's been around 7,000 likes and 1,500 retweets. So it's quoting top voices like Dan Peguin, who I believe, who I've seen a lot on X, and then also Matt Van Horn, who published this.
Yeah. So a better way to do this would be like to say, hey, we're doing this marketing technique. So I wonder if you could run for me, what are the latest and greatest ways to do thumbnails and titles on YouTube to get higher engagement? And see, this is where I think the agent can get better and better. One of the things I want our agents to do is when we do a podcast, to suggest the title of the podcast and to make some thumbnails. Humans do that now, but they're going to do that, and who knows if they're going to be good at it. But if we run last 30 days every couple of days and say, go learn on a consistent basis what the latest techniques are for thumbnails and headlines, then we would have a recursive agent. We'd have a recursive replicant. And that's really what I want to get to, is having the replicants learning when we're sleeping. So at 1 a.m., if we told all of our replicants, go across these 5 topics and other topics you're focused on and go find the latest techniques, that could be super powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And I also did kind of use the same example as Matt did on the show, which was trying to do a photorealistic agent grid in the last 30 days. And you can see it does the research, kind of sees what people are talking about, how people online are doing this in the last 30 days. And then, it generated a pretty cool, a pretty cool result here. So the last 30 days, obviously super powerful. And I did run a test and it just came back. So I will share that screen.
Yeah, let's see. This is where, Alex, your thoughts just generally on this recursive concept that we could start having it do?
I mean, this is when infinite memory gets really exciting, right? Because back in the day, you would talk to your AI model, ChatGPT, whatever you're using, and you would talk to it and it would forget what you said 5 minutes ago. Then we got pretty good personal memory, but it feels like now we're developing systems memory that allows you to take stuff that your AI agent learned before and hold it and then build on top of it. We talk a lot about getting to the point in which AI models can improve themselves. This is kind of like a baby version of that, Jason, but
yeah,
incredibly exciting if you want to build up a corpus of knowledge that's unique to your company based on simply how you're prompting intelligence to go out there and learn about the world. And frankly, we do a lot of thumbnails here at Twist, and frankly, they can all probably get one shade better. So I think this is freaking great. And I gotta say, I wish I could buy stock in Anthropic because we are burning through some opus.
All right, so here it is. Thumbnails and titles. Thumbnails, keep it stupidly simple, 2 to 3 focus points, no redundancy, don't repeat, AI workflow, sketch idea, badly is fine, upload to AI thumbnail generator, add reference channel, generate titles, etc. I turned X into unexpected, absurd transformation equals curiosity, keep it under 60 characters, broad appeal. So it's giving the best practices it found. I guess it's doing only X here. It's only researching X at the moment, Oliver?
So I've only connected
Is that because we didn't connected it? Yeah, okay.
Only connected it to X so far. Yeah, back to the API point. But one thing that's super interesting is what you can do is run this skill, the last 30 days skill. And as you've seen, Jason, I started working on a thumbnail specific skill. So the skills are flexible. So you can add to them as you go and as you build onto other skills. So you can start to have skills even interact with each other. So the last 30 days of the best practices in thumbnail creation could then interact with my thumbnail creator skill, which accesses the Gemini API and Nano Banana.
Okay, well done. Let's go on to our next skill. What is our next skill?
I think next up we're going to talk about Task Monitor, Oliver. Take it away.
Yep. You know, last week we were kind of had some concern about, are we able to see everything that our bots are doing across all the different platforms, across everyone on our team who's talking to them? And while this is a pretty simple skill, I think it is really important to note that you can track all of this, and you can make a skill that can track all of this. And it also brings up, you can also use
when you say all this, say what you're talking about. So just as a little broadcaster advice, say explicitly what you're talking about. What is all this in that sentence? Yeah.
So you can use Task Monitor to track which models are being used, how many tokens are being used, what scheduled jobs you have. So I just scheduled kind of a faux cron job, which is just reminds me every 3 minutes that I'm doing great. But because we did set this up on a sandbox.
It's your affirmation bot. It's your affirmation.
Exactly.
Got it. So if you had a replicate in your system just to do marketing tasks, right, or accounting tasks, if you use OpenClaw Task Monitor and you have that skill in there, and the 4 of us were giving the marketing replicant jobs, how do we know if we're running into each other and what each other are doing? Well, you would put in this skill to do a task monitor, and it would create a log. And so what's happening is these skills, which, be careful because some of these skills have malware in them, and we're putting them in a sandbox and being very careful with them. But these skills that are being written, they're almost like super prompts in a way, and you could put and inject bad things into them. It seems like a really smart one. And some of these will eventually be built in, I think, to the OpenClaw platform, yeah? Is the expectation, Lucas?
Yeah, and there is, I think, about 50 already built in. And, those are the ones that are more trusted. I believe Peter, the founder of OpenClaw, came out and said that they're going to try and update Claude Hub to make it more secure. But when you're downloading random skills off the internet, random locations, definitely be careful, because you can't really read through all of the documentation and files that you're bringing into your bot.
Yeah, on that point, there's been a lot of reporting lately about how the skills on Claw Hub that relate to crypto are not good for you. Shockingly enough, Jason, that crypto skills are scams. So don't download a trading skill. Don't download one that connects to your Coinbase account.
Yeah.
Right now, I just wouldn't let your money touch your bot, essentially, if you're being smart about it.
I think that is one of the great vulnerabilities. Passwords, money, anywhere somebody could get into your PayPal or your Coinbase is a really bad idea. That being said, there are lunatics out there, Lucas, that probably are just saying, anytime there's a new skill, and where do the skills live? There's like a website for them. Does anybody know the name of it?
Yeah, I've been using clawhub.com. .com. But I think, Oliver, you linked to GitHub, so I presume you're looking somewhere else for your skills.
I think clawhub.com is a version, it's like a web interface for them, yeah?
Clawdhub.com is where they keep all the skills. You can upvote, people can download, people can post certain skills, and people can upvote them. So it kind of is a community where a lot of people are posting them. But you can also, if you just put in the URL to a GitHub link, you can actually just tell your bot to download that skill. So Matt Van Horn's skill was on GitHub.
And then how do you know if you've downloaded malware or not, Lucas? How do you know if you're not a developer? You don't, right?
Well, that's the thing is when we were downloading these skills, we actually created an entirely separate instance specific to the demos in order to get these running, showcase it. and then scrap it. Because right now it is a very vulnerable place. I mean, people are starting to use AI agents to parse through the code to find the vulnerabilities beforehand. But, that comes along with trust.
And this is why, for people who don't know, that why this hasn't been launched by Salesforce. This is why this hasn't been launched by, XAI or Google. The power of this is in giving it all these permissions. The danger is you've given it all these permissions. Nobody wants to have the responsibility for what these things can do. Therefore, it's in open source. What will eventually happen is somebody's going to figure out a framework to lock these down and then make an app store where you have to have a business ID, like a tax ID. You have to put in your driver's license or your passport. Then you can upload, then you can charge for it. And then somebody reviews it like the app stores do. And we are probably going to see that, I would guess, in the next 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, security is not great. So I made a couple of skills because, learning, and I was going to upload them to ClawHub so I could show them live here on the show. And it said, no, you can't. Your GitHub account is not 7 days old. That's not a very big hurdle, however, to uploading stuff to ClawHub. So it's a pretty low speed bump, even though I did run face first into it because I had just made my GitHub account. So
yeah. And this is where, at some point, I'm sure the founder of this open source project is going to announce a huge $50 million round of funding at I would say, $300 million valuation. So 50 million for whatever it winds up being, 20% of the company. That's coming any day now. When that happens, you will see a hosted version of this. And I saw Cloudflare is actually hosting OpenClaw now, and you'll start to see some security precautions be put in place. Yeah, Lukas?
Yes. And one thing I will add is we've seen, and I've spoken to people that work at very big tech firms or tech companies that have similar internal tools that were built out. And this goes back to kind of the innovator's dilemma that Google had gone through with their Google DeepMind project and how it took them forever to launch something because they want to satisfy their current customers and also not act too much like a startup. But I think that the large tech firms now are going to start getting involved.
Clearly, people want more capacity to do stuff on their computers, and they don't want to have their hands held. Now, I wouldn't have my parents use this, Jason, but I think for us, us nerds, I don't know why we shouldn't have access, to our own castle and our own keys. It just seems very reasonable to me.
Yeah, I mean, nothing can stop you from doing this yourself, obviously. If you do install this yourself and you authenticate your own accounts, I think you're crazy. But I think if you create a stack of accounts that are read-only for this, the Notion scale is the other one we've installed. Yeah, Lukas? So
yes, and we've given it very specific access, and it's all kind of created around multiple different API keys that we've locked down.
The Notion scale is by Notion, or it's just by somebody who wrote it?
This particular skill is kind of custom done on our side, so we didn't
made our
download
own
a skill to correct.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Polymarket, Reddit, Elevenlabs, Gamma, and what was the one? Oh, you did the
last 30 days.
Last 30 days, and then you did the Task Manager. So that's 6. We did 6 definitive skills today. We didn't get to 10. There's more coming. Any OpenClaw news that we should be aware of, Alex, as we get ready to wrap here on this is day 8 of OpenClaw Mania.
Just
we started last Monday. Yeah.
Couple of small things. One, Wiz, the cybersecurity company that Google purchased for, Jason, back me up here, 32 billion.
30 billion plus, yeah.
30 billion plus. They turned down the money last year, blah, blah, blah. They found that Molt Book, if you call it Molt Bot, Molt Book, the idea was your agents would have their own social network and talk amongst each other. Incredibly insecure and was leaking stuff all over the place due to a misconfigured Supabase database. So just another warning that when you're playing with fire, don't have your house involved with it. And then there's the cryptocurrency problems with other skills. Again, stay safe. But I just want to throw in a little note to everyone out there listening to this who's kind of learning but not playing. You should go make your own skills. And it's really, really doable if you have multiple AI platforms. Whenever I ran into a problem, Jason, I just screenshotted the issue, threw it into my unlimited ChatGPT account, and then used that as a way to unstick me elsewhere in Claude Code or other places. And it made me feel like a super person. Like, it was incredibly cool to build my own software, ship it to myself, and run it myself. So if you're listening to this, you're not a founder, you're not hyper technical, just give it a try. It's like $20 in credits, and you'll learn so much. And you'll feel awesome, and you'll feel in the know. So just go get your feet wet. It's really worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Jason, I have a quick question. Peter Steinberger, who was the founder and creator of OpenClaw, he's kind of seems like a serial open source guy. He's released, I think, around 50 tools over the past couple of years on GitHub, and I can't imagine what life is like for him at the moment. Are VCs just throwing money at him? I think that he made around $100 million from a previous venture of his. So I guess, what would you do if you're in his shoes? What do you think life is like for him at the moment? I've seen him on a bunch of podcasts, so he's obviously enjoying life.
Yeah, you will get a lot of excitement, because when something is this weird and catches fire, it's very rare in our industry. This would be lightning in a bottle. So when lightning in a bottle happens, VCs show up and they love to take risk. What he's going to be drowning in is, the need to ship product, the press asking him to talk, customer support, bug fixes, and raising money. These are all going to be pulling him in different directions. This is why multiple co-founders is what Paul Graham insisted on at YC. What we do, and we copied from Paul Graham, was, hey, we need multiples. It's because when something like this happens, you want somebody to be able to watch the story as the other person goes and gets the investment, right? And another person deals with the press and the, those issues. So he's probably dealing with that. What he needs to do is make a decision. Who does he want to have as his first investor? Who is somebody of high integrity, high track record? It doesn't matter at this moment, and he should have good counsel, right? So he should have a great attorney from whichever top tier firm, and I'm sure those firms have contacted him as well. So just like if you were a basketball recruit or an actor or a comedian, you'd want to have good representation, good lawyer. In our world, it would be an agent in the Hollywood metaphor. And then you have to make an economic decision. Well, how do you make an economic decision if I assume 50 people have made him an offer? You just talk to 5 other founders and say, who's the best investor you ever had? Boom. And he's going to be able to skip going to an accelerator or even Founder University, obviously. He's going to be able to go right to a Series A. And so he should say, I want to do a series. He should tell everybody, these are the terms. I am raising $20 million for 10% of the company. You get a board seat. There's going to be 5 board seats. I have 4. You have 1, or one's independent. Here's my attorney. You can talk to them. You get this set of rights. And then he should look Sequoia, Kraft, Andreessen Horowitz, GC, which of those big firms he wants to work with. And then a step down from there, Khosla, who he wants to work with. Who does he vibe with? Does he vibe with Jason Calacanis? Does he vibe with, Sequoia, Ruloff? Does he vibe with David Sachs? Or David's, probably would be somebody at David Sachs's firm now that he's at the White House most of the time. You would pick who you vibe with, and then you'd have a conversation and you just narrow it down. Now, what's going to happen is then people are going to outbid. So the people with low reputation would want to outbid the other people. So they'd say, well, I'll give you 30 million for 20% of the company. I'll give you 50 million for 20%. And that can get a bit, that can get a bit crazy. What you want to do, though, is avoid just taking the biggest number, and you want to go with the best reputation. Best reputation, most thoughtful person who's been in the industry the longest. The other possibility is to say, I'm raising $20 million for 10% of the company, and I'm going to do a party round. You can take up to $4 million. I'm going to have 5 different firms put in $4 million each, and I'm building a bit of a brain trust. Some people might not like that, but they might make the bet anyway because there's so much money in the world and this is lightning in a bottle. Larry and Sergey did that with Kleiner Perkins and Sequoia. They said, we're famously going to give you half each. They both said, no, no, no. We want the whole thing or nothing. And they called their bluff, and sure enough, they split the baby.
Yeah. And he did create a previous company called PSPDF Kit, which is a PDF technology company. And so he's been a founder before. He might know a little bit of the show, kind of what it takes, kind of what he needs to do. He might already have some money in his back pocket for a project like this. Is there a world where he doesn't even need to raise?
No, there's no world in which he should not raise.
That's interesting.
This project is so great. He should just take the money. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And if he doesn't, it would be a giant mistake. This would be like creating the IP for Superman or the IP for Star Wars and not going for it. You're George Lucas, you've got the script for Star Wars, you've got some treatments, and Fox says, 20th Century Fox says, we'll produce it, we'll distribute it, we'll give you the money for it. And then, hey, you've got all the cards because there's so much competition. And he said, yeah, I'll do it with you. I get the sequels and I get the merchandise. And that's what Lucas was able, because of how desirable Star Wars was and the sequels. He said, I just want to own the sequels. I want to own the merchandising. And then we all know how that worked out. The Star Wars toys made more money than the movies ultimately. And so there you have it. And the sequels, then he got to renegotiate and negotiate over and over and over again and he funded them himself. So you take more risk, but you gotta close around this week, next week. You gotta have a great lawyer, and you gotta just tell them what you're looking for and why, and then call it a day. This is what I would do if I was him. I would pick 2 top firms, give them 40% each. I take 20%, and then I would go to all the top influential people. I'm talking my own book here, but people like me or whatever, and say, hey, I have $500K for you. And you get, if there was $4 million, you get 8 people to put in $500K or 16 to put in $250K. And then you can always call them or email them and say, hey, JCal, hey, you're an investor in this. Can I come on This Week in Startups? Or can I get a shout out on All In? Or can you come speak at my Clawdbot conference? Whatever it happens to be. That would be the high art, is to have 2 firms, 2 board seats. They each get a board seat. You get the other 4 board seats. You have super voting or the voting shares, and then, you go from there.
So when we often see open source projects, Jason, the company built around them is often offering a hosted version with, enterprise security and so forth. You also mentioned the App Store idea, and that's proved to be a very lucrative method of monetization for Apple and Google. Yep. What do you think is the best way for the people behind OpenClaw to monetize this product? Because I'm kind of torn about which way I would go if I was them.
You do both, hosted and pro. Then I would do a services company to help people implement it. And then I would do the App Store, where these skills are subscriptions. So last 30 days is, X amount per month, per year, and you just pay for it as you go, and they take 30%. Super easy. And for that 30% or 20%, whatever they choose, they have a dev team and security team that reviews the code and make sure it's on the up and up and easy to install on the hosted version. And then they could do a deal for the hosted version and a licensed version for Cloudflare, with support and everything. So it's usually the support, the services, the App Store, the updates is what people will pay for.
Yeah, because if you told me that I had to pay for the last 30 days, I would just go make it myself and then run it myself. I think now that I have the capability to create my own software on demand with funny little jokes with Cloud Code, my interest in paying for software has gone down dramatically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can and do fork WordPress or install their own version of WordPress. And then there are people who use hosted WordPress. It's really that simple. You make the decision. For some people, it's well worth the money. For other people, it's not. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And here's your Poly Market, fun Poly Market. Show them the Poly Market, Alex. Pretty good.
All right, so the name here is a little bit dated, but roll with me, everybody. Today's Poly Market is, quote, Moltbook AI agent sues a human by February 28th, or by the end of this month. And the reason I picked it, Jason, is it has an 83% chance, according to Poly Market Sharps, and nearly $300,000 in volume. So a good amount of volume, and they really do think that someone's AI agent from OpenClaw is going to sue a human. And I would take the no on this, but I wanted to get your take on who's right here. And we'll talk about the rules after that.
Yeah. My understanding is a lot of these agents that are talking to each other on Book, which is like Facebook for the agents, are being prompted and put up to like their conversations. It's not just organic stuff, but sure, somebody will train their agent to file a lawsuit and it will sue somebody. Yeah.
Is it ethical to create a skill that has your agent sue someone so that way you can win the bet, or is that unethical? Because you're not predicting.
We're in uncharted territory here, Alex.
That's why I'm asking. I mean,
nobody knows.
I just realized that I could spin up a Polymarket account, drop some USDC in there, bet on yes, and then sue you for fun, and then.
Yeah. I think the fun thing to do is to connect it to Polymarket, put some money into the account, and then have it look for wagers to place. And then just, because people have done this already with the API, they're already doing quantitative, betting. But now this opens it up to everybody. So you could come up with all kinds of ideas of how to bet on markets. I want to bet all the long shots and say they're not going to happen because they're long shots, and just make very small amounts of money. Excuse me. Pardon me. So yeah, tons of different ways to do it. All right, listen, I don't know what to tell you, folks. This thing is taking over the industry. I predict it's not going to stop. I think this is going to keep going. I was just thinking, I have this really great domain name, begin.com. And maybe that would be a good way to do a hosted version of this. I don't know if there's a founder out there who wants to do a hosted version of this, or like make a verticalized version of it for small to mid-sized enterprises, but pitch me on that. We'll incubate it. And I have the best domain name ever, begin.com. All right. We'll see you all next time on Twist. Bye.